Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you want to follow me on Twitter, and it's Tuesday, July 5th. Happy belated Independence Day. Finally, the fireworks are done. They're finally done. I'm 43 years old. I'm done with the fireworks. When I was younger, right? You love, it's fireworks. But of course, in New York City, where I grew up, fireworks were illegal. So people still set them off, but technically you're not supposed to. But out here in Louisville now, that fireworks 2 in the morning, people setting them off last night. My dog's going nuts, right? I want to go to sleep, whatever. I don't care about the fireworks anymore. But finally, they're done. They're done, but we had baseball yesterday. We have baseball today. We have baseball for the foreseeable future. I see you guys in the YouTube chat. Give me those thumbs ups on your way in the door. Helps us out. Give me those thummy thumbs. Give me 1 up. Give me 2 up. Give me 3 up. Give me any. Give me all of them. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. It's a 12-game slate tonight, so they'll be handling everything. Grinders live, crunch time. We got some weather situations possible. So tune in later for that. Good morning, Doug Montgomery here just before Suki Singh. Daniel Hutchings here in the chat. Yesterday, managed to not lose a lot of money, right? Actually made a little on Draftkings and lost a little on FanDuel because FanDuel, my main lineup had Sean Manaea, and he got killed. He had 7 points on FanDuel, so that's gonna hurt you with on a one pitcher site, and even in the contest I was playing, he was only like 35% owned. So that even Nimmo's home run, I some good batters in the lineup, but didn't get there. But on DraftKings, I managed to avoid enough pivoting with my, playing triple ups, 3-mans, 5-mans, and avoiding kind of like a lot of duplicated combos. Ended up working out for me with not. I didn't have. If you take a look here, it's like Urias actually came in lower owned than Manoah, and Manoah got hurt. I mean, he got 9 points, not as bad as Manaea, but we see like more popular style lineups were Manoah, Manaea, Jeffers. Like you have to pay down at multiple spots in order to get these combinations to basically get Pete Alonso at first at 5,500 and Jose Ramirez at 5,000 and still get 2 9K pitchers. You had to punt at a couple of spots. You basically had to punt at 2 outfield spots and a catcher spot. So how do I avoid that combination? So like I didn't play bets. Bets was in this specific triple up. 77% owned Bets at 4,300. 58% owned Gavin Sheets at 2,200. Jeffers was 41% at 2,400. Right, we go to other combos. Right, here's Urias, but with Polanco here. But you got Sheets, you got Betts, you got Tim Anderson, Jose Ramirez, Pete Alonso, Ryan Jeffers, Sean Manaea. Like I can understand some changes at second, the third outfield spot, even though Robert was 32% owned. But like BK Reader and John Ivor had the same exact lineup. We take a look here. Some other players, right? Not much different. Moncada, Kepler. I mean, Kepler was low owned over here. But like a lot of 2v2s. Jeffers, Alonso, Anderson, Betts, Manaea, that kind of combination. We go up to Get Loose over here. A little bit flippy. Still have Sheets, still have Anderson, still have Ramirez. Have Manoah up here. Pay up for Will Smith instead of Jeffers. And play Abreu, and that's exactly what I did. So like my lineup, flipping it a bunch. Play Urias instead of Manoah. Play Owen Miller instead of any of those second basemen. Play Abreu over Alonso. Play Will Smith, pay up at catcher, and then pay down. Still play Riley Green, but play Franmil Reyes. Pay up at shortstop instead of Tim Anderson. Play Trey Turner. I mean, it's not like it scored a lot, but Abreu's home run and the fact that Urias was still less than 50% owned. Like in a triple up scenario, like I passed by a lot of people. Right? It's like, how do you not play Betts at 4,300 with the Dodgers with a 5-run total? Well, because those combos, if you have Betts in your lineup and you have Ramirez in your lineup and you have Alonso in your lineup, I mean, you probably have Jeffers in your lineup. You probably have, a lot of the same combos. So in these types of contests, like we could take a look at, let's see, who are some other BRK Nets? Right, look, very similar combos. I mean, look at these combos. With these combos, yeah, Betts has to have a great game. But I mean, in a triple up scenario, there's just so many duplicated combos that it's more profitable long term to be, 3 points lower projected, 3.5 points lower projected, and not be on the same exact combos. Doesn't mean I'm an 8v8, right? I still ended up with 25% Riley Green and Robert at 32, right? And Will Smith and Jose Ramirez I didn't get rid of. I still had Minaya in my lineup. But still, compared to the combos, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 4 or 5 that were probably not going to be together with each other. So something like Abreu hitting a home run, I mean, just elevates you over like all of these lineups all at once. So in a double up scenario, it doesn't help you that much. A 50-50 scenario, in a head-to-head scenario. But in a contest where you're getting paid triple, where you're getting paid 5x and can double up, it actually helps you a lot more. And that's the whole concept of leverage. This is what you would do in GPPs, other than the fact that you don't care as much about correlation in these types of contests, because the difference between sixth and first is the same amount of money. Like this Jay Reed guy, right? Like Jay Reed. Let's take, I mean, this lineup scored 143 points in a triple up. It scored, almost 60 points higher than the next lineup. But I made the same amount of money as he did in this contest. Right? There's no need for that. Right? Ends up playing, a bunch of Mets together. But Taiwan Walker at 6% owned, so that helps not having Minaya or Manoah. But it gets you the same amount of money, so what do I care? I don't care. Don't care whatsoever. But that was yesterday. But just showing you the concepts of, of what exactly I'm doing. Because people have asked me, and they think I'm playing, oh, this is what you do in, quote, cash games. No. I'm exploiting of other players' lineup combinations, which means the most important thing, you need to know their lineup combinations. If you can't guess their lineup combinations, how are you going to be different? Well, I'm just going to X out bets and then run it. Okay, well, that's a start. You can do that. It's like, well, do people that have Jeffers, what do they have in their lineup? They probably have Alonso. They probably have Betts. They probably have Tim Anderson. They probably have Ramirez. So try not to play those guys together. Doesn't mean you have to have none of them. It just turned out that Joe Ram at third base, you gave up the most amount of projection by not having him in the lineup in comparison to the other players. So when I'm putting together my lineup, I'm going, okay, I'm pretty, like, when I first started, this was pretty much my lineup. Maybe India over Polanco, possibly. But this is what my lineup looked like. If I was going to play purely a head-to-head lineup, this is probably what my lineup would have looked like. And then you take out one. You take out Alonso. And you go, okay, what would the lineup look like? And how many points of projection are you giving up? If I get rid of Jeffers, what does the lineup look like? If I get rid of Betts, what does my lineup look like? And seeing what the projection difference is. And when I took out Jeffers singularly, when I took out Anderson singularly, when I took out Betts or Sheets singularly, the projection didn't drop more than a point. But Joe Ram, it did. Based on, obviously, not that great going-ons at projected going-ons at third base. So the first person that I'm like, okay, I guess I'm keeping Joe Ram. And if I'm keeping Joe Ram, I don't want to have combinations that also include Joe Ram in it. So once I get rid of Betts, it's like, okay, I'm dropping about 0.6 points in projection. Okay, that's fine. Then since I'm not playing Betts, and let's say I drop Alonso, well, I'm giving up another 3/4 of a point. But now that I drop Alonso, I'm not playing Jeffers anymore. Will Smith ends up in my lineup. Trey Turner ends up in my lineup. I end up with Franmil Reyes instead of Gavin Sheets because he's $1,000 more. Then I look and it's like, well, I already don't have Sheets. I already don't have Betts. I have Turner over Anderson. I have Will Smith over Jeffers. And what ends up happening is that naturally I get to this type of lineup. With like Owen Miller at second base. So that's the type of stuff that I'm doing for triple ups, 3-mans, 5-mans, quintuple ups, small 10 and 20-man kind of GPP-ish type of things that pay the top 3 to 5, something like that. But for today's slate, I wanted to highlight again, because during baseball season, I get this question. I've answered this 100 times. Okay, so you can go back in the archive and probably watch like every other show and see me answer the same question. But I still get this. I don't understand how I do. I really don't. From people that watch the show, the people that get the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports course at theoryofdfs.com, why I'm still answering the same question. And especially in baseball, right? Because it applies more in baseball than anything else. I still get questions. Do you prefer, like on FanDuel, 4-4 or 4-3? When do is 4-2 fine? Or on DraftKings, do you do 5-3 or do you do 5 and 3 one-offs? As if these questions, these are the wrong questions to be asking. Like once you have asked that question, you have completely bypassed fundamental concepts of DFS. Like once you have asked that question, you've basically stated, I'm sorry, I don't understand how DFS works. Okay? I'm gonna go slowly, and I'm gonna show the extreme. Once you show the extreme, you see that there are no answers that are yes, there are no answers that are no, and there are no answers that are exact numbers. It's gonna be, it depends. It's somewhere in the middle. Okay? So if the question is, do you prefer playing a 4-4 or 4-3 lineup? The correct answer is, I prefer to play plus EV lineups, no matter how they're constructed. Okay? There are plus EV lineups that are all 8 one-offs. There are. Good luck finding them, but there are. If you simulated it out. There are plus EV lineups that are 2-2, 1-1-1 messes. There are. Hard to find them. Good luck. There are 4-4 lineups that are awful that you'd rather have 8 one-offs that are so negative EV that you might as well try to pick 8 one-offs or 9 one-offs or whatever. Well, how is that possible? I thought you're supposed to correlate in baseball. You're not supposed to do anything. There are no rules. Correlation adds variance to your lineup. That's all it does. In GPPs, variance is good, right? How much variance does correlation add to your lineup? Do you know that? If I put 3 players from the same team, does it raise the ceiling projection of my lineup by 17 million points? No, obviously not 17 million. Does it raise it by this much? Very little? 0.0000001? Probably not also. Probably somewhere in between. Right? So how much is correlation worth in comparison to raw projection? In comparison to ownership, which is leverage. Now we get back to the 3 levers of DFS: projection, correlation, and leverage. Plus EV lineups have the balance of the 3 properly for the contest that you're in. So for the payout structure, for whatever it is. So in a double up, probably you're prioritizing projection, because adding variance to your lineup, coming in first by 17 points doesn't do it. Getting paid the same amount. So you're optimizing for a 55th percentile outcome. GPPs, you're optimizing for 100th percentile. You want the top, if possible. So you want to add variance to your lineups. So the fact that correlation adds variance to your lineups is a good thing. But how much is that worth versus raw projection? So let's use the extreme example. I'm going to go to FanDuel. I'm going to build a 4-4 lineup. I'm going to do it by hand. That's the only way I'll be able to do it this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in Kyle Hendricks. Okay. And this is the FanDuel, right? So I'm going to plug in Kyle Hendricks. at pitcher. Then I'm going to build a 4-4. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at these teams. KC. Who's high? I'll just go to the hitter section and sort by negative point per dollar value. Right? Okay, so we're going to play overpriced Michael Harris on the Atlanta, but I don't know if where are the other Atlanta players. Oh, Colorado. Okay, Colorado seems overpriced. Okay, there we go. So Charlie Blackmon, Brendan Rodgers, Connor Joe, and CJ Crone. So we're going to have to get rid of what? Connor Joe's at outfield. So let's put Crone in to fit him in. And Connor Joe in the outfield. Okay, so we need a third baseman, a shortstop. It has to be cheap, I guess. Let's go to, let's see, Pittsburgh with a horrible total. Let's see what people are on their roster. Let's go to Pittsburgh. Let's put in two compete to Marcana at third base. O'Neill Cruz. Need an outfielder for less than 2,400. Gamble is in the projected lineup, right? Okay, there's Gamble. And another $2,400 player. And Michael Perez. Okay, catcher. Right. Okay. So this is a 4-4 lineup. Okay. It projects for 91.45. So we're going to save that. Okay. We're going to save that lineup. Now I'm going to undo all of this. And now I'm just going to run the highest projected 4-3 lineup. Right. 100%. Let's just run 20. Right. I could just stop it now. Okay. So here's a lineup with Luis Garcia, Derek Hall, with the Phillies, Yankees, and Wilmer Flores one off. I'm going to save that lineup. Okay, let's take a look at the two lineups. Okay. Here's a 4-3-1 lineup with the Phillies, the Yankees, and a one off of Wilmer Flores with Luis Garcia. We don't even care about ownership. Don't even worry about it now. This projects for 135.49 as a median. Okay? It's a 4-3-1. This lineup underneath it with Kyle Hendricks, Rockies, and Pittsburgh Pirates, 4-4, projects for 91.45. Okay? So the difference in projection is about 45 points, which is a lot. Let me just tell you, it's a lot. Which lineup do you think is? We're not even considering ownership at this point. Let's just say that both these lineups are owned low enough that you could still win first place. That you have enough leverage. You're unique enough. You're fine for the size of the contest that you're in. Okay, one lineup projects for 45 points higher than the other. But this lineup is a 4-4. This lineup has more correlation. Does the one extra batter of correlation in this lineup make up for 45 points in projection? Let me just, spoiler alert, it doesn't. How much does an extra batter versus a one-off matter in the course of your lineup? Probably on average, less than a point. Probably on average. So obviously, if you have 4 players in your lineup, maybe you're adding 1 extra point to your ceiling range. Maybe. Okay? Obviously, on FanDuel, maybe a little bit more than DraftKings because their scoring system is a little bit more beneficial for runs and RBIs. So which lineup is better? The 4-3 lineup. Dude, I can make lineups that are 3-3 that are messy, that are going to be 40 points higher projected than this 4-4 lineup. This 4-4 lineup probably sucks. That it doesn't win often. And it's just the team totals and everything. Yeah, sure. They're correlated. Yes, absolutely. You don't have to, but this is, look how low owned this is. You don't have to be if you win with this lineup, you're winning by 80 points. Who knows? I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't need to be this low and to be this low projected. But this is a 4-4 lineup. So which do you prefer? Do you prefer the 4-4 lineup or the 4-3 lineup? Well, in this scenario, I prefer the 4-3-1 lineup. In this scenario, this 4-4 lineup is probably negative EV. And this 4-3-1 lineup, much higher expected value than at least this other lineup. So what, am I choosing between 4-4 and 4-3? No, I'm choosing between plus EV lineups. So saying that, oh, do you prefer 4-4, 4-3? No, I prefer plus EV lineup. Some lineups will be plus, some lineups will be 4-3, some lineups will be 4-4, some lineups will be 3-3, some lineups will be 3-2-1, some lineups will be 4-2-1-1. It depends on the scenario. This is the extreme example. So it's somewhere in between. Where if just simply building 4-4 lineups, you're probably missing out on a ton of plus EV lineups that you could be making. Because you're a slave to, oh, it has to be 4-4. No, it doesn't have to be. Then let's take this lineup up here as an example in and of itself. Okay, so let's build a 4-4 lineup now. And I'll show you more of the nuanced scenarios. I'm using the extreme first. So let's build 4-4s. This will take a minute. Okay, there. Let's stop it. Okay, so here's a 4-4 lineup. Guardians and Phillies. Okay. At 138.1. Let's scroll even further down. Let's go to the lowest lineup that we created at least. 129.88. Okay. So here we go. Mitch White. JT Realmuto. Let's get rid of it. Let's make it so there's only one lineup up here. Let's use this for an example. Okay, here's a good one. Okay, here's Red Sox Yankees. Here's a 4-4. Projects at 132.91. Okay, this is probably fine. Now let's say instead of playing, because we're leaving 700 on the table. So let's say instead of playing JD Martinez, let's take a look. What's JD Martinez's projection? 13. Okay, that's high actually. Oh no, okay, no, we'll do. Let's take out JD Martinez, and then put in Kyle Schwarber instead. Okay, so take a look at this lineup: 132.91, 4-4. JD Martinez, we put Kyle Schwarber in here. The projection goes up by like 3 points, 135.72. But now it's not a 4-4 lineup. Now it's a 4-3-1. Okay? So is JD Martinez, having him in this lineup, and we're not thinking about ownership, JD Martinez, if putting him in this lineup to have the fourth Boston Red Sox batter in there, is that worth 3 points? If I take out Schwarber and put in JD Martinez, projection goes down about 3 points. Is the correlation worth 3 points? That's what you have to decide. Which lineup, if you can only play one lineup, or only playing one lineup, or playing in a large field, whatever contest. You have to decide. It's like it's going to be either this lineup or you take out JD Martinez and you put in Kyle Schwarber. So what should you be thinking? What is your thought process? What you should be asking yourself is having that correlation in there, the one extra Boston Red Sox batter, worth not playing the highest projected one-off in that spot instead? How much projection difference is there? Let's say Kyle Schwarber was only projected for 0.2 higher than JD Martinez, and he was the highest projected guy that you could put in there. Would you rather play JD Martinez or Kyle Schwarber? Well, in that case, I probably play JD Martinez. Getting an extra 0.2 in projection, the correlation is probably worth more than that. So I'll keep JD Martinez. Now, let's say Kyle Schwarber was projected for 70 points higher. I'm using the extreme example. Is the correlation worth 70 points? No. So why am I playing a 4-4 when I could a higher expected value lineup is to replace JD Martinez with Kyle Schwarber? Now, is 3 points worth the correlation? Well, that's the question you have to answer. I don't think the correlation is worth it for 3 points and median projection. Do I know for sure? No, because now we're getting closer to the line. Let's say the difference in projection was 1.27 points. Is the correlation worth that? I don't know. You're close. You're getting close to the point in which it may not matter which one you do. Maybe you do. I would probably lean more on the side of keep the correlation if it's close. But these are the things that you're thinking about on constructing a lineup. I'm not just simply building 4-4 lineups, and who cares if they're 50 points lower projected, and they leave 7,000 of salary on the table for no reason, and they're playing and point per dollar. They're playing the worst point per dollar pitcher. I mean, like that's a bad 4-4 lineup. Yeah, let's say we take out JD Martinez and we put in Kyle Schwarber in here. Okay, now we got that. So now it's a 4-3-1. Spent 34.8. Now we take a look at this and go, maybe we can prove this even more. We still have a Yankee stack in here. Okay, that's fine. Let's say, can we replace Christian Arroyo with anyone in the utility spot? Vogelback, who projects? Christian Arroyo projects for what? 8? Looks like 8.44. Okay. Do we have anyone that we could fit in that's way more than 8.44? 10.95. That's Vogelback. Oh, we got Franmil Reyes, 13. Okay, we got a 13 in here. Okay, so if I replace Arroyo projects for 8.44. Franmil Reyes, median projection, is like 5 points higher. Is the correlation worth 5 points in this lineup to make sure to get Christian Arroyo in there, who probably doesn't really have much of a ceiling? Probably not. Probably not worth 5 points. So where's good old Franmil? So I put Franmil in instead of Arroyo. This lineup now goes up to 140 point projection. It's no longer a 4-3-1. It is now a 4-2-1-1. But I posit, not factoring in ownership, that this lineup has a higher expected value. Even though it's a 4-2-1-1. But I don't build 4-2-1-1s. Yeah, but this is probably better than some of the 4-3-1 lineups that you built. Not all of them, but some of them. And this is what you're going through. This. And if you saw this lineup win, you go, oh, they didn't even play a 4-2-1-1. What a fish. No, this lineup is better than yours. And then a 4-2-1-1 with the Colorado Rockies and Kyle Hendricks is probably horrible. You're not going by construction. You're going by what the lineup looks like. Individual lineups. So there are certain 4-2-1-1s that are better than 4-4s. There are certain 3. Let's take a look. Oh, well, let's who else do we have projected here? Let's say we take out Glaber. Is there anyone? I don't know if there's anyone underneath Glaber. Glaber projects for 11.6. I don't know if we're going to find anyone. Oh, Max Muncy is a little bit. Right, let's say we put Max Muncy in. So Javier Baez, 11.82. Max Muncy is 12.04. Okay. So Glaber Torres is 11.6. Max Muncy is 12.04. So we put him in there instead. We raise our projection by like a half a point. But now we have a 3-2-1-1. Yeah, but Glaber's like for a difference of a half a point. I'd rather maintain my correlation with the Yankees. Max Muncy, yes, he projects slightly better. But is it enough so that I think the correlation is worth a half a point in projection. So I'm gonna put Torres back in. Then I take a look at Stanton at 14 point whatever. Right? Oh, we got Byron Buxton here at 15.11. Right? Stanton is 14.66. And Buxton is about a half a point higher. Okay. This lineup has a slightly higher projection. But is that half a point worth busting, not getting the correlation as much with your Yankees? Probably not. So Stan's fine here. It's worth those levers. Remember the levers. The projection lever's coming down a little, but my correlation lever's going up. As long as that's happening, that's fine. If Byron Buxton projected for 22 points and he was 6 points higher projected, then I'd say make it a 3-2-1-1 lineup instead. Then the correlation isn't worth it. And he'd be sitting there with a 3-2-1-1-1 lineup and go, I thought these were bad lineups. No, that specific 3-2-1-1 lineup is probably higher expected value than a lot of the 4-4 lineups that you're building. That one. There are plenty of 3-2-1-1-1 lineups that are horrible. This is what happens when you go through it, of the importance of understanding concepts, not looking at an answer key and trying to recreate stuff. Oh, the rule is, like there's a rule. There are no rules. There are only probabilities. So the next thing to factor in all this is the ownership also. So now you have to factor a third variable. Yeah, Kyle Schwarber is 3 points higher projected, but he's also 3 times as higher owned than the other guy. So now you have to consider, is the correlation worth it? Is the ownership worth it at the same time? And there's going to be some combination of that. So maybe it's like, I don't mind taking 3 points less projection to be more correlated, as well as have a player that's 3 times less owned. That's fine. But if you tell me Kyle Schwarber is the same ownership as JD Martinez, then why not take the extra 3 points in projection and screw the correlation? Let's say Kyle Schwarber and JD Martinez were projected for about the same, just like the example before. But JD Martinez was actually higher owned by 10 percentage points. And let's say they were projected the same. So it's like, well, if I keep JD Martinez, that keeps my correlation intact with my Red Sox. But he's also 10% higher owned. So should I be playing Kyle Schwarber instead because he's lower owned? Even though, is the 10% less ownership worth removing the correlation? It's the same thing you would do with projection. Is so-and-so, who's projected 1 point lower, but twice as less owned, worth it? Is that 1 point worth that lower ownership? And that's what you're doing when it comes to leverage. So you're doing the same thing when it comes to correlation. Those 3 levers work in tandem with one another. So if you're coming with questions of, do you prefer to play a 4-4 and a 4-3? There's no answer to those questions. You're asking the wrong questions. The question should be, is this lineup as a full lineup, specific lineup, worth playing over this other specific lineup? This lineup has this construction. This other lineup has a different construction. What is the projection? What is the correlation? And what is the leverage of each lineup? And what is the balance of them? Correlation is one of the levers. So you could show me a lineup. You could show me a lineup that's 3-2. I could build. Let's build. Let's go here. Let's build a 3-2 lineup. Okay, let's stop it here. Right? So here's a 3-2 lineup. Garcia with Hoskins. So it's 3 Phillies. Hoskins, Schwarber, Castellanos with Judge and Donaldson. And then you got one-offs of Muncy, Rosario, and Reyes. But he's looking at another 2 in there also. So this is a 3-2-2-1. Most people would look at this and go, this is a messy, this isn't a 4-4, this isn't a 4-3, this is against the rules. Well, if this lineup is low-owned enough, does the leverage lever come up enough to make up for the lesser correlation between the players? And then all those levers have to be adjusted for the slate size as well in the format of the format of everything. Because there's a much big difference between a 3-game slate and a 12-game slate. Probably in a 12-game slate, you're more likely to correlate your players. More likely. Obviously, in a 3-game slate, it's hard not to. It's easy, but it's actually easy to make a lineup that's 3-2-2-2 because you only got 6 teams to choose from. So a lot of lineups will look like that. But in a and in 12-game slates, there'll be less lineups that look like this. And you may end up playing a 4-4 lineup that actually is duplicated on a 12-game slate. It's the only way to play 2 certain teams together and one of like the 2 or 3 viable, more and more usable pitchers, they're going to come up with the same. It's going to look the same based on positional scarcity and everything. So is this lineup worth playing? Now, let's take this lineup now. Okay? We're going to take that lineup, remove this one, and now you have a choice. We'll go back to our original example. The column with the Rockies Pirates garbage lineup 4-4 with Hendricks. That projects for, what is this? 52 points lower in projection. If we take out ownership, which lineup would you rather play? I would surmise that this lineup that projects for 52 points higher is plus EV, is a higher expected value than this lineup below it. Even though this lineup is a 3-2-2. And this lineup is a 4-4. But what happens if this lineup projected for 100, like another 10 points? Is that the line? Let's say this projected for 113, which is only 30 points lower in projection. Probably still you'd rather play the first line. Where is the line? At what point would this lineup be equal in expected value to this lineup? Well, it's some projection number. I don't know. 20 points lower, maybe? I don't know. Then obviously once you factor into ownership, you're gonna have to take that into account. So those are the variables that you're working with in your head to build specific individual lineups. So you could build 100, you could go right into lineup HQ, I'm going to build 154 fours and put in all your exposures and put all of that type like that. You could do all of it. I want 10% of this. I want 20% of that. I don't want more of this. I wanted this or whatever like that. You build 150 lineups and they're all bad. And then I could go in and build no 4-4 lineups and not even build 4-man stacks on FanDuel. Just build 3-2 and 3-3 lineups and build 150 better than yours. Better than your best lineup doesn't even beat my 150th lineup, even though you have all 4-4 lineups. Well, you have bad 4-4 lineups in comparison. Just because they're 4-4 doesn't make it good. What do the specific lineups look like? Now, in reality, if you build 150, you probably get some of them. Yes, obviously. I'm being a little exaggerative here. But it's possible. I've seen people screw up optimizers all the time. I want to play this and this. I want to play more of that and that. I want to play this and this. And next thing you know, you look at half their lineups and go, how the hell did you get to these? I don't know. I had 20% of this guy. Like, but did you look at the lineups? No. Well, that's your problem. So I wanted to go over this because I in the past like week, I've gotten like 3 or 4 of this specific question, essentially. Whether it be FanDuel or DraftKings. I chose FanDuel. And do you play 4-4 or 4-3? Do you play 5-3 or 3 one-offs? Which do you prefer? If you had a choice. It's like I just want to build plus EV lineups. If it happens to be one or the other, then it's fine. But I'm not specifically going in and saying, okay, today's a 4-4 day. Today's a 4-3 day. If you talk to Nerdy Tenor, Daniel in the chat, he doesn't even put any of this in. His algorithm decides. He has a whole different all amounts of constructions in it. Maybe only 30% of his lineups are 4-4s. Maybe 22% are 4-3s, and 10% are 3-3s. And like, it depends on the specific lineups that there are. So asking questions like that show that you have to understand the concepts. Use the concepts, build the lineups. Then you can play any sport. Injustice says in your extreme example, if you don't factor ownership and correlation, a 1-1-1 lineup will beat a majority of all the lineups projection with. Absolutely. Yes, that's the extreme on the projection end, right? If I just run the, optimal projected lineup, right? Like this will have 143 total, whatever this is. And the more correlation you add into it, that means you have to get less projected players. You can't play the top projected possible lineup. So as you sacrifice projection, you're gaining correlation. That's still with the levers. That's the concept you have to understand with those levers. As you drop projection, you need to be gaining something else in return. How much do you gain? Well, that's up to you to decide. Having one correlated player ain't worth 10 points in projection. I can tell you that. Going down 1 percentage point in ownership isn't worth 10 points of projection. That ain't worth it. Where the line is, I don't know. Specific slates are different. That's for you to judge. And a lot of times it's very close. So if you go down, if you start from 143 and you're down and you're sacrificing 13 points in projection, and you still have the same ownership, why are you playing that lineup that's projected lower? Let's say you have a lineup that projects lower, that isn't correlated, and is owned at the same as the lineup above it. Like, why would you play that lineup? As you sacrifice projection, you should be gaining correlation. You should be gaining leverage. Be gaining something. And the vice versa applies. If you're lowering your ownership, like, you should expect that your projection should go down. If you're adding correlation, you should expect that your projection goes down. But how much should it be going down? And that example that we had before, which with Franmil Reyes and Christian Arroyo. Yes, I know. I'm removing correlation because I don't think it's worth 5 points for that one player. But you're going to be making decisions. Is it worth it for 1 point? Is it worth it for 1.5 points? Is it worth it for a half? I don't know. You're in the closeness range. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter as much as you think. So as long as you're not giving up those extreme examples, then you're probably fine, especially in baseball, which is a high variance sport. So this applies to everything. This is not just baseball. This is football, basketball, any sport. As you drop in projection, you have to be gaining something else. So it's like, oh, do I have to be correlated? You don't have to be. If you're not going to be correlated, you should be gaining projection. You've given me a choice between a 4-4 lineup that projects for 120 and an all one-off lineup that projects for 120. Why wouldn't I be playing the correlated lineup instead? So I'm obviously gaining something with the correlation. I'm adding variance to my lineup, and I'm not sacrificing any projection to doing so in between the two lineups. So definitely give me the correlated one. But let's say the all one-off lineup is projected for 6 points higher. Is the full correlation of a 4-4 lineup worth versus the two lineups? Maybe it is. Maybe the 6 point drop in projection is worth it. The levers. That's, as long as you think in those terms, you should do very well in DFS. That's all you have to do is think in those terms. And once you think in those terms, and then think in terms of probabilities that these aren't, these are a range of outcomes, then you start to see why most of these types of questions are stupid. Should you play this or that? Well, there's a probability of one or the other. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Doug Montgomery says it's always good to hear you go over the same stuff with 3 levers and its use. Repetition is the key to learning, is what my trig professor taught. Yes, well, that's the reason why. That's the reason why I have the course. This is in the course. This is not. Go get it. How to think like a professional DFS player. The Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. As long as you know the concepts, you can apply them everywhere. The more and more you do it, this course is designed for you to re-listen to it. So if you want to go over the same stuff again, that's how I learn also. You listen to this, and then you play for a little bit, a couple of weeks. And then you listen to it again. And then you pick, I'm not doing this enough, and I'm not doing that enough. Oh, now I get this. And then you play for another couple of weeks. Then you listen to it again. That's how I learned how to play poker. I just read every book possible, played a bunch, and then reread all the books. Then play again, and then read again, and play again, and then read again. Then you learn. And then the more you do that, then the stuff comes very quickly, especially in poker when you're at the table or something. Doesn't seem like that hard. It doesn't seem like why. Then you start seeing why don't other people? Why don't you get it? Jason Finn asks, you talk about not making, quote, cash lineups for GPP when someone is hand-making 3 lineups in a 150 max. Their strategy is that person throwing darts on the wall. Now you're building GPP lineups. Like I wouldn't play a high-owned lineup in a large field GPP. You're going to bleed your money. You'll min cash a lot, or frequently enough that it'll feel like you're doing well, but you'll see at the end of the year that you've lost the rake, essentially. All the money in GPPs is at the top. So how do you build lineups at the top? You have to add variance to your lineups. Cash lineups are specifically built not to have variance in it. They're geared for the 55th percentile. That cashes in a double-up. That is profitable in head-to-heads or break even in head-to-heads. That's what median lineups are. So you shouldn't be building median lineups, but people do because they're the best plays. You're not looking for the best plays on average. You're looking for the best way to win first place. That's it. So if you hear me on Grinders Live when I'm talking about stacking against chalk pitchers and fading 80% owned dudes in baseball, what's the most profitable way to get the first place? So much easier when the scores are lower. When a lot of the higher owned players, the higher owned, over owned players fail. Now they're owned for a reason. They're going to succeed more times than they fail. But the times that they succeed, everyone has them. So how much does it gain you by having them? By having an 80% owned player in your lineup? You may not even cash. They do. If they hit 3 home runs, right? If some 80% owned player of one-off hits 3 home runs, does that win your first place? No, that barely gets you to the cash line. There's so much more value in 80% of the field having a 0 when they fail. And then you having some other guy that hits a home run and a double and has 24 points at 3% ownership. It doesn't happen as often, but when it does, you get paid way more than you should. That's the concept of GPPs. So even if you're just building 3 lineups into a GPP, I don't know how much risk mitigation you even have to do. If you're playing playing 3 $15 lineups, assuming you have a bankroll, you should take 3 good shots at first place. 150 maxers actually have to mitigate risk. It's hard to build 150 high variance lineups and then not go broke or not lose, $250,000 over the course of a year. So you can't have like minus 95% days like all the time. So if you're building 3 lineups, I'd say go for broke. That's what you should be doing. The reason why there's edge in GPPs is because people don't do that. They have 3 lineups and I only have 3 lineups. I have to play the best, the highest owned stack because I only have 3 lineups. No, you should be thinking in terms of, because I only have 3 lineups, I should just what's the I'm going to fade half the chalk in one lineup. I'm going to fade half the chalk in the other lineup. I'm going to stack against the other thing in the other lineup, and I'm just going to do this every day with 3 lineups, knowing that you're going to lose 90% of the time. But when you win, you could win your first place for 50 grand. Rather than, oh my God, I came in 874th place for $40. But that's how that if you download the CSVs, a lot of people play that way. Especially if you remove the 150 maxers, and if you just go by people that play just one lineup. If you just isolate the players that just play one lineup, you'll find 2 distinct types, distinct archetype buckets for people that just play one lineup in a large field GPP. You'll find cash lineups, cash style lineups, or you'll find awful lineups. Lineups that it almost seems like they bang their head against the keyboard, right? Both give you an edge. Okay? Both of them do. People think of the latter. They think of, oh, someone, Buxton was out and they're still in the guy's lineup. And you just isolate the single bullet guys. And there are a lot of them, right? You could find 20, 25% of the contest be single bullets. You'll find lineups that I don't know how they put them together. They have 2, 3% owned pitchers and then a 3-man stack of some other team, 1 batter against their pitcher. It's a 12-game slate, and you're like, I don't even know how these were constructed, dude. You tally everything up, and it's like their lineups are projected for like 35 points lower than other lineups. And you go, I don't know how this person ever thinks they're going to win it. I don't know. It's negative EV. Hopefully get lucky once, maybe, right? People think of that as that's the edge in DFS. It's like, no. The other half of the lineups are lineups where obviously that they played all the best plays, right? Or they played some projected optimal or something like that. Or the highest owned, or sometimes it'll be the highest owned stack and the 3 highest owned one-offs type of thing. But they know it's like, okay, they're playing a 5-man stack on their DraftKings, but it's the highest owned stack and they're playing the highest owned. Like, you look at their lineup, then no one in their lineup is less than like 18% owned on a 12-game slate or something like that. I mean, like, and then you look and you go, how do you possibly expect to win? Like, you need everything to be perfect, and even then, you may even be duplicated with someone or something like that. Those lineups cash more often, but that equity at the top, they essentially are handing it over to you. They're saying, the top 1% spots, the top 0.01%, whatever spots. I'm just going to seed I'm just going to give my chance of that happening to everyone else in the field by doing so. Because I want that juicy 1.5x zone. And that's a lot of the other types of lineups. And both having all of those lineups in there, both of them give you an edge. As long as you're building lineups that are plusy, as long as you're building GPP lineups. If you're only playing 3, yeah, you're going to have to wait a long time. It's like, picture rolling a 5,000-sided die. But you're getting paid 50,000 to 1 instead of 5,000 to 1. Right? That's 10 times the amount that you should be getting. The proper odds should be 5,001. Right? You get paid to put in dollars. You should get $5,000 if you can guess the right number on a 5,000-sided die. But no, I'm going to pay you 50,000, which means on average you get it wrong 4,999 times. You lose $1 each time. For 5,000 times, you get 50,000. So now you're up $45,000. The problem is that having a bankroll and surviving to get to that time. 1 out of 5,000, 99.95% of the time, you lose $1. But so many people are like, well, I'm not going to play that way. I'm going to play to never have a chance at 50,000 to 1. I want to roll the 20-sided die. I want to roll the 3-sided die that pays me even money. Right? So they roll the 3-sided. I don't know how it has 3 sides only, but whatever. It has 3 sides. But it pays me even money. It should pay you 3 to 1. It pays you even money. But you get that right 33% of the time. So you put in $1, you lose. You put in another $1 and you lose. You put in $1 and you win. Now you're down $1. So you only got paid $1 on that other one. That happens more often. Oh, you get $1. I win $1. So much more often. So that's what people are doing by building those cash lineups in GPPs. The people that are building the really weird lineups that I don't know how the hell they get to. That's like rolling the 5,000-sided die, only getting paid 3,000 to 1. Right. They're not going to win often at all. And then when they do, like they've probably lost way. I mean, if we extended this out to 1 million times, they're still not profitable, even though they do win to some extent of the time. That's all DFS. We're talking. This is what DFS is. It's a game of variables and probabilities and balancing them all out, either in your head conceptually, or using tools, or looking at projections, and just organizing the numbers better than other people. That's it. We see, look, throughout the course of this hour, we didn't talk about any type of baseball stats. Well, the baseball stats are in these numbers. Do you have a projection model? Okay. Well, I just press the button and print money. No, it doesn't. Having accurate player projections doesn't help you build actual lineups that are profitable. They're the starting point, but not the be-all, end-all. So understanding all the variables, and the 3 main ones are the 3 levers: projection, correlation, and leverage. And all that is in the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. Pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me the thummy thumbs if you appreciate this content, which is free. Later today, Grinders Live. They'll be going over the 12-game MLB slate. We got 2 weather. I mean, I think we have trouble possibly in Boston and in Chicago. And Kevin Roth will be on Crunch Time, presented by FanDuel, leading up to lock. So you got to check out. He'll be posting tweets and stuff. And you have the weather report, which is free on RotoGrinders. But if you want the lineup HQ and you want access to our Discord, you could ask me anything you want in the Blenders Game Theory channel. Subscribe to RotoGrinders Premium. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. And I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow possibly, maybe a different time. Check the thumbnail. Or maybe there's not even going to be a show, but it's most likely going to be a later time. The RotoGrinders is having a meeting of some type. I don't know what the schedule is. So the schedule may be slightly different tomorrow. But obviously, we post this stuff on YouTube. You'll see the starting at time, but it may be an hour later or so. Or just not there at all. If you don't see it there, then there's no show or something. I don't know if that happens. But I'll see. I'll see you next time, no matter when next time is. Answering your DFS strategy questions like I always do on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.